You're listening to Mind, Body, Home with your host, Sara Ann. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mind, Body, Home podcast. It is Tuesday morning, February 20th. I cannot believe we're almost at the end of February. This month seems to be flying by. I do want to apologize in advance if my voice sounds really low or raspy. I am getting over being sick. Both my daughter and I had a cold, and now my husband's sick. So we didn't start off our year of the dragon so healthy. Of course, I have been sort of just resting, which was a little challenging because my best friend from back home in Pittsburgh was here to visit. And so I felt a little bad about that. Both my daughter and I had literally no energy to do much of anything, but I'm grateful she's a pretty chill friend. She doesn't require a lot of entertainment, we'll say. She's sort of a homebody, just like me. So she was fine just sort of chilling and hanging out with us. But of course, now that I'm feeling better, I'm ready to smudge this house and get the sickies out. I just want to clear all that stagnant, ill energy out of this house, which I will be doing this week. And the other thing I wanted to share was that we bought a house. I can't remember if I announced that or not on the podcast last week, but it did happen really quickly. We went out a few weekends ago with our realtor to just sort of look at a few options, nothing we were really serious about, but we kept seeing some homes on the market we were curious about, and they were actually sitting on the market for a little bit. And so we decided to go take a look. And next thing I knew, we put in an offer, and it's one in our current neighborhood that we are renting in, which is so great because one, we don't have to move far. We're already familiar with the neighborhood and the area, which is really great. And two, probably more importantly, is that the kids do not have to change schools. So I know that they are very excited about that. They really adapted to this move so well. They've made friends very easily and very quickly. And, they really made themselves a home here in Texas. So we are extremely grateful for that. But again, back to the house, it's a quick close, a 21-day close. And so that is actually happening today, which is Tuesday. I'm actually recording a day before. But anyway, that's a little bit about what's going on with me. And as for the topic for today, I want to expand on the theme of love for February. I've already talked about creating sacred space in the home. I've shared ways in which to connect heart to home through the awareness around the heart chakra. And I talked about finding and enhancing the love corner of your home. And just last week, I gave you some ideas for the bedroom, how to promote healthy romantic relationships or partnerships by using the bedroom, or how to attract that into your life. But the bedroom also supports that relationship to the self. And that is where everything really starts, especially as we talk about love. I'm a huge fan of Louise Hay's work around this particular topic of self-love and self-worth. Louise is considered, in my mind, a pioneer, really, of modern day self and spiritual development. And her work has certainly had a huge impact on my life. One of the things I remember reading, she was saying how when we expand our thinking and our beliefs, love flows freely. And when we contract, we sort of shut ourselves off to that flow. And she asked, do you remember the last time you were in love? And I think a lot of us can go back to probably our teenage years and those first few relationships or experiences of love where we felt amazing, blissful, right? And it's the same feeling you get when you love yourself, except you won't leave yourself, right? That love you create for yourself is with you for the rest of your life. So you want to make it the best relationship you can possibly have. Because the more we love ourselves, the less we project our pain onto others or onto the world. And that tells us that when we love ourselves wholeheartedly, unconditionally, the less we seek it from others. This stops our demands of so much from our partners or our children or our parents, any relationship, really. We can literally set them free of conditions we place on them by loving ourselves first. When we have that strong sense of self-love, we benefit in so many other ways, not only for ourselves, but for others in our lives. And beyond that, we show up more confidently. We experience better mental, physical, emotional health. Our home and our environments are in order, and we're determined to keep it that way. We experience less anxiety, we sleep better, we find more joy and time in our lives to live out our purpose or our desires or share in experiences with others. So much goodness stems from having a strong relationship to self. And for some, getting there might seem impossible. I know a lot of people can be really down on themselves and lack that sense of confidence and that self-esteem. I am one of them at times. It's something very much highlighted in my life, even still now. And what I do know is that all of it stems from a deep sense of not being good enough. So cultivating love for yourself, that's where we have to start. And I'm going to share a few tips with you today that hopefully will get you started. And the first tip that I want to share is a self-care practice. These are obvious acts of self-care, like taking a bubble bath or having a day at the spa. Maybe it's healthy retail therapy or just picking yourself up a bouquet of flowers. All of these are wonderful to do for ourselves, and I highly encourage them. And although they fall under the category of self-care, they do lead us to self-love. It's all in your why. It's the intention behind why you're doing it. Treating yourself because you love yourself and want to treat yourself is healthy. Wanting to go out for a cup of coffee alone or a dessert or a lunch or a fancy restaurant even is a wonderful way to show yourself some love, as long as they're coming from a healthy mindset. You know, we're not just using these acts of kindness towards ourselves as ways to fill voids or distract ourselves from what it is we truly need or want in our life. You know, something like excessive shopping or overeating can also become dangerous territory if we're doing it to mask feelings and emotions. So get honest with yourself if those habits or hobbies still leave you feeling depleted or like there's only a short-term sense of satisfaction from them. So tip number 1 is self-care habits. My second tip is practicing gratitude daily. For some people, this might look like a gratitude journal. For others, it can be just a morning or evening practice. It could even just be a continuum throughout your day. You know, the purpose of a gratitude practice is that when we affirm things that we appreciate in our lives, we're moving into that stream of positivity. This is the stream where our desires become our manifestations. A daily gratitude practice could be anything really, but if you want to take a self-love approach to gratitude, make a list of things that you love about yourself. Every evening before you go to bed or every morning, practice affirming them in the mirror. Louise Hay, again, she was a huge advocate for what she called mirror work, telling yourself and affirming to yourself in front of a mirror how you feel about yourself in a positive light, of course, can boost your self-love meter. And yes, it does feel silly in the beginning, but you will work past that. Okay, it's when you truly do love yourself at that kind of level, you don't feel silly about standing in front of the mirror and telling yourself how much you love yourself. So consider that a goal, because if you do feel silly or uncomfortable in any way doing that, there's probably some self-work to be done. My third tip is saying no. This one can be hard for a lot of people. It hard for me still, has been for a long time. Um, but I am more aware of it now more than ever, especially as people pleasing has become such a buzzword. Take a look at your calendar and discern what is on there that you could say no to. Committing to events that do not bring you joy, or maybe you only committed to them to appease somebody else. Taking it off and saying no is a huge way of honoring yourself and your time. Of course, we don't want to hurt other people's feelings. And if it's something you need to take care of, like a doctor's appointment, then yes, follow through with it. But dig really deep into the reasons why a certain event or a certain commitment on your calendar is bringing up more negative emotions than positive, and sort of take it from there. And maybe even take it one step further and add something to your calendar that does bring you joy. Take yourself on a date. Some of those self-care tips I just spoke about, it could be something free or it can be something extravagant. You can visit your local library and pick up a book on a topic you've been wanting to explore. Even take a free class. Libraries have free classes all the time. You can take yourself on a picnic, explore a local park or a museum, take yourself to get a coffee or a lunch. You can take a paid class, such as cooking or baking or even art classes. I've always personally wanted to do pottery and ceramics. Still have yet to do that. Or even floral arranging. I used to joke that I think I was a florist in a past life because I love arranging flowers in a vase. But I don't do it enough. And so maybe this is my hint to do so for me. Schedule yourself a spa day or even book yourself a self-retreat somewhere that you've never been before. Literally have a rendezvous with yourself and make it a point on your calendar, whether it's once a week or once a month. It's just something that you look forward to that is just for you. My number 4 tip is creating sacred space in your home. I just did an episode on this a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to dive deep into how to do this, but creating a sacred space in your home is probably one of the most loving things you can do. This is a place where you go personally to spend time alone, in meditation or contemplation, prayer, journaling, connection with higher guidance, or even those that have crossed into the spiritual realm that you still have strong connections to. Our connection to this part of ourselves is essential to life because it allows us to connect with something bigger than ourselves. Intuition, or the higher voice within you, is our internal guidance system. When we are guided from that, we don't look outside of ourselves for love or information or the opinions of others. I often say that you literally become your own personal guru. You become your own best friend when you align with your intuition. And then creating that sacred space, that is the path towards all of it. It creates the environment for listening and attuning ourselves to this really powerful side to life. Your sacred space should be filled with all the things you love: flowers, pillows, blankets, aromas, crystals, all the comforts of a warm little cocoon. That's the way I describe it. And again, just did an episode on this, so if you want to listen to more of that, the link is in the show notes. And sticking with our home environment, tip number 5 is decluttering. Decluttering your home, your body, your mind. Clutter is the word I use for stuff. Stuff that is taking up residency in our home, in our work, in our life, in our minds, in our bodies. And this stuff is no longer contributing to a healthy physical or emotional state of being. Because clutter is a sensitive word, I feel like people hear the word clutter and they think about it in a certain context, usually negative, but everyone has clutter on some level. But understanding that our stuff is only a collection of experiences in our lives up to a certain point, we can shift our perspective on it. And when we shift our perspective, we become attuned as to why we hold on to certain things. And then if we're ready to let them go, we can. We are meant to change and evolve and keep moving with the flow of life. So our stuff, when it's no longer needed, it just becomes a clog in the pipes. It blocks us from receiving what's next. So appreciating our things for a certain length of time and what they have meant to us during that time is important, but so is realizing when it's time to let go. Taking that step and empowering ourselves is a huge act of self-love. Same with the body. What's no longer serving you? You probably already know the answer, but maybe you're just not taking action. Have you been becoming more curious about sobriety? That's buzzing right now. I think I read somewhere that in 20 years, alcohol will just be as looked down upon as cigarettes and smoking is now. Maybe you're thinking about eating less meat or becoming a vegan. How can you meet yourself where you already are? Can you maybe stop alcohol just during the week? Can you add 1 or 2 vegetarian meals to your menu? Get yourself into a habit of starting and then releasing often, and really watch how life starts to quickly open up to you. So decluttering is tip number 5. Number 6 is surround yourself with beauty. Decorate your home with the things that you love. When we declutter, we remove things that do not bring us joy or happy memories. When we decorate, we replace those things with items that do. Bring nature into the home through flowers and plants. Hang art that you love and adore. And better yet, create your own art. So many clients will say to me, I'm not creative. And, really, that's just a story. We keep telling ourselves over and over, making it a seemingly real belief. But we are all creative at some level. So find a craft, a hobby, a project that you enjoy. A really great book to explore more on this is Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. She walks the reader through multiple creative projects to help sort of cultivate a joy and a passion for the arts of all kinds. And again, just like creating that singular sacred space, create that all throughout the home. Engage all of your senses by filling your home with luxury textiles and linens, things that have a nice soft touch to them. Use scent diffusers all throughout your home. Depending on your mood, maybe you want uplifting scents, or in the evening, maybe you want relaxing scents. Adding art or photography, places you've traveled to or want to travel to. Take a look around your home with a discerning eye and look what is in front of you. What around you is beautiful. Tip number 7 is to partake in nature. This one costs you nothing. We know that getting outside for even just a few minutes a day is so incredibly healthy for us. And so it's just another way to invite a practice of self-love. Stepping out onto the grass or the sidewalk, connecting with Mother Earth herself, right? Mother Earth is that ultimate embodiment of love. The science of earthing is really a fascinating topic. I highly recommend researching it if that is sort of resonating with you. We all desire that connection to Earth, that mothering energy all the time without even really labeling it. Anything that enables us to work outside, gardening, taking walks in nature, going to the beach, we all crave that Earth energy that she gives to us. Tip number 8 is forgiveness. A lot of us tend to think of forgiveness as this person did something to me and I am able to forgive them. But really, that's sort of a Band-Aid approach to forgiveness. To deeply understand forgiveness and what that means requires a bit of spiritual faith and a strong foundational understanding of the universe and our perception of it and how it relates to relationships between people. Most people who do things to us, no matter how small or severe, are only doing it because they have lost a sense of who they really are. We are all loving spirits engaging in human matters for the purpose of learning and evolving back into the essence of love. Some are more aware of this than others. And so forgiveness starts with you, just as love does. One, forgiving yourself for also forgetting who you are and why you're here. You have certainly caused others pain. You have certainly judged and condemned. And it's in those moments that you have forgotten and most likely would hope that others extend grace and forgiveness unto you. So from that understanding, that place of self-compassion, can you extend that to others? Holding firm now our understanding of the world and those in it, easy to do? No. Easy to understand at times? No. Easy to remember? No, especially when our world is enthralled in hurt and chaos. A lot of this stuff is easy to forget, but with continual awareness, strong spiritual connection to our higher guidance, our intuitive side, we can live in that state more frequently. And living in that state is an act of self-love. And last, but certainly not least, tip number 9 is to tell yourself how much you love yourself. Repeat this often, along with all the previous suggestions. I'll leave you with this last one, but it really should perhaps be number 1 on the list. When we speak to ourselves lovingly every day, if not multiple times a day, we are affirming that we love and respect ourselves enough, that we are aware that it starts with us. When we are confident in who we are, why we're here, and what we offer to the world, we stop limiting ourselves in ways that bring disappointment. We move away from the chatter in our minds that we aren't good enough. We move our physical bodies in the direction of health and wellness rather than disease. We open ourselves up to the flow of prosperity and abundance. So when we start assessing our lives and the way we are living, the way we treat others from the lens of self, we become a co-creative part in living out our purpose. We intentionally align with love and self-assurance, and then we exude that energy into the world and impress it upon others. True unconditional love starts with you. It starts with me. I'm also practicing these tips. It's a lifelong practice. A cultivation of self-love is a journey that we are all here to partake in, and I believe it's the most important one. We just have to flip the script. Take the pressure off everyone else around you and look inward at yourself and what you can do for you first. So, exploring the topic of self-love or relationships or partnerships of all kinds can really be explored through a session I am calling Mind, Body, Home Alignment. This is a new service that I'm excited about, that I'm offering, and you are the first to hear about it. I haven't really put this out there into the ethers just yet. I would like to offer this to you as subscribers and podcast listeners. I am currently running a promotion on it for $29. This $29 gets you a 1-hour power hour session with me to get an understanding of where you are, where you want to be, and what is holding you back. We'll take a look at your environment and see how your living space is playing a role in these blocks or limiting you in some way. Of course, there are ways in which we can work together further if that's what you need and want. But the point of this first session is to have another perspective on what's not working for you and why. You'll have some takeaway items for you to implement and follow up with me via email for additional support and further guidance as it's needed. So the link to the Mind, Body, Home Alignment session is in today's show notes. Again, it's $29 for 1-hour session with me to get you moving from point A to point B, whether it's on today's topic of self-love or other relationships, but also you might be feeling blocked financially, creatively, in your career. Maybe you're questioning your path and your purpose, or Maybe you're coming out of the spiritual closet, as they say. I know that to be a very lonely process for some of you that maybe don't have the right community or support. All of these aspects of life and more could be reasons to reach out for a session. So I do hope to hear from you, and let me know, what self-love practice are you planning to implement? You can always DM me on Instagram or Facebook at Jade Scott Design. Or if you're not on social media, which is also totally okay, send me an email at jsd@jadescottdesign.com. That is my direct email, so please do not hesitate. I am here for you. And just a reminder, your support of the podcast is what keeps the podcast going. If you're enjoying the content being delivered, I highly encourage you to leave a 5-star review, subscribe to the channel, and share it on all social channels or with a family or friend. There's a lot of us out here podcasting, all of them great and fabulous, but it does make it a little more challenging for people to get found. So I would greatly appreciate any support that you can throw my way for the podcast. And until next week, I'm sending you and myself so much love and gratitude. Thank you so much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Jade Scott Design. Jade Scott Design houses a collection of services, products, and content that are aimed to support mind, body, and home. If you're interested in exploring your relationship to home on a deeper level, be sure to check out our interior decorating and feng shui services, along with our home decor line, Shop Elemental. All of this and information on the Mind Body Home podcast can be found at the link in the show notes at jadescottdesign.com.